Hello everyone, welcome back to episode 13 of the Atlanta Sports Podcast. My name is Frankie Maloof and I am running solo today as Luke could not be with us. Today we'll be joined later on by Ken Sugiura, the AJC beat writer for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, who will discuss the game versus Clemson and also the upcoming schedule for the Jackets. But first I want to thank you for finding us whether it be on our website, atlantasportspodcast.com, or on iTunes or Stitcher, or Google Play if you're an Android user. You can also find us on Twitter at ATL Sportscasts or on Google+. You can just search the Atlanta Sports Podcast and we should show up there. So now we're going to start off with our interview. It was recorded yesterday, so it was after the Yellow Jackets game versus Clemson, which was on Thursday night. And Luke was with us there on the phone, so if the sound quality is a little different, it's because he was over the phone. So now we are very happy to be joined by Ken Sugiura, the Georgia Tech beat writer for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Ken, we're glad to have you with us today.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
So let's get started. Tech had a down game offensively this week versus Clemson. What do they need to do to rebound from their tough performance?
I think it's just doing a lot of the simple things better. Blocking on the perimeter, getting the make sure they get their blocks on the line, and that opens everything up. I think the problems last year were a lot related to that. They weren't able to just block well, and they can't do that, in any offense. But especially in Tech, then it's just not going to work. And obviously, the first few weeks, or particularly the last few games before this against Vanderbilt and Mercer, they did fine. They blocked well, ran the ball well, and everything kind of moved well. But passed Justin Thomas passed really well. So it's just making sure they do those simple things well. I mean, Clemson is a very good team, and they the last 2 years have kind of shown that their coordinator Ben Venables, I think he's very good at kind of getting his guys ready to play those blocks and to know how to kind of what to look for to play disciplined football. And so Miami's not a very good team. They've played Tech pretty well over the last 6-7 years, and so. It'll be a challenge, but I think that they've proven they can do it, but it's just a matter of, just getting better at what they do.
So do you think that it has anything to do with the type of offense they run? Do you think that they'd be better off trying like a pro style or?
If they were to do that, they couldn't do it at this time. They'd have to probably get rid of Paul Johnson and start over. I think ultimately, I don't know that it's necessarily stable with the offense. I mean, I think part of it is with this offense, you're either going to be, I guess it's going to sound sort of, obvious, but I think when Tech's offense doesn't go well, it's really, really obvious. I think, a pro-style offense, you can still manage to move the ball here and there, but I think Tech's offense is so predicated on everybody doing their job well. That if one or two guys, it's like in a triple option play. If one guy on the front end of the play misses his block, the play gets blown up, and whereas maybe another in the pro style offense, run play up the middle, one guy can miss his block and it's still going to be okay. I think there's long been kind of that within some of the fan base of frustration that our offense looks different than everyone else's, and we're not winning the way we would like to, so it must be the offense. The challenge that Tech faces, recruiting is always going to be a difficult, proposition for them because of where it is and because of Tech's academic challenges. You could run an offense like Clemson's, but you're probably not going to get as good a player as Clemson does, and so you're still going to kind of end up in the same boat that they are now. It's funny you say that because there's a new athletic director, and eventually maybe he'll make the decision, but I don't know specifically that it's the offense that's part of that's that's why Tech is hasn't won or at least didn't win on Thursday night.
All right, the passing game has been more effective this year than I expected it to be, so why do you think this is occurring?
I think you have to give a lot of the credit to the offensive line. Paul Johnson did something kind of, different this past offseason. He got rid of his special teams coach, and he brought back in a second offensive line coach. And typically, offensive lines have been coached by one coach at least most levels or most places in college football. But I think Johnson has with the way he's typically done it, he's had a tackle just for the coaches, or excuse me, a coach just for the tackles and a coach for the interior, and the guy they brought in. So now they have these two coaches, and I think they're able to devote more attention to the line, and I think that's improved that, and just maybe some better players in the line has improved the pass blocking. Last year, there were two problems. One, the pass blocking wasn't very good, and so Justin Thomas rarely had time to set and throw. And then the second problem was that, in 2014 when they went to the Orange Bowl, their two wide receivers, DeAndre Smeltzer and Darren Waller, both were good enough to get drafted in the NFL. Last year's receivers, one was a true freshman, so he was just out of high school, and the second really hadn't played a whole lot, so they weren't very experienced, Ricky June and Brad Stewart. And so they just weren't very good at getting open, knowing how to run routes and that kind of thing. And this year that they both played, they're coming back, they know the game, the offense better, and are, probably a little bigger, faster, stronger. And so that part of it is improved. But I think mostly I would point out the line is the reason why it's gotten better.
So we're 4 games into this season. The Tech's 3-1. What aspect of the Tech team do you like the most from seeing the first 4 games this year?
That's a question. I guess you kind of have to take into consideration what happened against Clemson, because I kind of thought their chance they would lose just because Clemson's a better team, but I didn't think they would lose that way, and to look so horrendous doing it. When I say that I think the passing game, is better and a lot better than last year, I guess you measure that a little bit, just given the way they played against Clemson. But that's probably it. I think you always kind of figure they're going to run the ball, and I thought the defense would be, better, or at least okay, which it has been. I think some ways it's been considerably better. But, part of the passing game, I think, you don't think of it as being important, but I think, if you remember the game against Boston College in the opener, they had their 4th and 19 that they had to make, and Justin Thomas came up with a 22-yard throw to Corey Searcy, and I don't know if that's a play they could have made last year, certainly not with any sort of regularity. So I think that's what I would say is the most different part of the Sears team.
All right, so which one of the freshmen that came in this year do you think will have the biggest impact going forward in these next 3 years, and including this year?
Wow. I don't know how to give that thought. Let me kind of think through that. It's hard to say because a lot of them aren't playing, and so you don't have necessarily an idea of how good they'll be. But on the top of my head, Brandon Adams, the defensive tackle, he's already played some this year. He hasn't played a lot, but I think one thing that Tech hasn't had is a really big tackle in the middle, a guy that is going to hold his ground against the run and force the pocket back in passing situations. And I think he has the potential to do that. He's I want to say he's 337 pounds. Typically, Tech's tackles have been under 300 pounds. Adam Gottis, for instance, is a good example. He's very, very good, and he's in the NFL now. He's a second-round pick, but he was, probably right around 300, maybe a little under that. So to have someone that big and that, potential to be a real difference maker there, he might be the one that had the most impact. Tech has last few years has had some trouble stopping the run, and the best way, or one of the best ways to do that, to get better at the run, is to have someone in the middle who's going to, force, hold up, get in a gap and beat blocks and force running backs to have to go sideways. And once you do that, then that makes, it slows you down. So, maybe him. I heard good things about one of the, Lucas Thompson, I think, is the quarterback. He's years probably from being able to make an impact, but, maybe. And Jordan Woods, his defensive end, is another one. I think he was a guy that Tennessee was recruiting before George Sexton told him away. So that's something about maybe his potential and ability. We'll only know in 2, 3, 4 years. But those are maybe 3 guys I might guess at.
So you touched on the defense there, but defensively, what's the biggest concern and also the biggest positive for Tech fans to pay attention to this year?
I would say the biggest concern is the pass rush. I don't know the number of sacks off the top of my head this year, but I'm going to guess it's, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5. And I guess more than that, the completion percentage for the first 4 games is, I'm going to guess, around 65%. And those two things are indicators that the quarterbacks that they're playing against just aren't being pressured enough. I think, again, to kind of go back to what Tech did a challenge with, ties in your recruiting some. Because they don't, at least right now, they don't have a guy that can consistently come off the edge at defensive end or at linebacker and pressure the quarterback. Keyshawn Freeman is no one gives more effort than him, and he does, sometimes get to the quarterback, but he's not like someone like Jeremiah Tauchu, who, before him set the school sack record, and certainly Derek Morgan before him. So that's probably it. And, they've been better about getting teams in the 3rd and long, but once you get there, what you need to have is someone that's going to, when a team's in an honors passing, you should force the quarterback to either get flushed out of the pocket or hurry his throw, and right now they don't have that. And I think as long as that's the case, then, even if you're putting teams in 3rd and long, if you're not making them rush the ball, then you're probably going to still give up one of those. And so you look at who they have coming up. Brett Kaya is one of the best quarterbacks in the AJC, if not college football. And then who else is there? Pitt has a really good quarterback. I think North Carolina's, I haven't seen him, but I think he's looks pretty good. And so that's probably it. As far as where they've been better, let's see. The linebacker planning is pretty good. Brant Mitchell, I think, is a pretty solid player. He's a sophomore. David Curry, he's a freshman. He's come on the last couple of games and looks like he has potential to play pretty well. And actually, you're right, the run defense, I think that's actually, again, third is game accepted. That's been a lot better than back then. They've been holding teams to far fewer rushing yards, particularly the way they played against Vanderbilt when Ralph Webb was, he ran for over 20 yards against Middle Tennessee State 2 weeks ago, and last week against Tech, he was held under, I think, 90 yards. And so, that might be I think that's probably the biggest improvement, maybe thing that Tech fans can be encouraged by with the defense.
Senior quarterback Justin Thomas has really been the leader for the Yellow Jackets this year. So who should we look to step in behind him this year, or maybe take over that role next year as the leader?
I think my first guess would be Matthew Jordan. He's a sophomore, redshirt sophomore. He played a little bit last year as Justin's backup. And so he's certainly the one in the best position to do that because he's been playing as the number 2 and certainly gotten the most experience. Going into the spring next year, Taquan Marshall, who's the 3rd stringer, he has a chance, but he's going to have to probably, it'll be a situation where he's going to have to, move past Matthew. Taquan is a different kind of a quarterback than Matthews. If you remember, he's going to be a little more like Ken Miley. He's bigger and stronger. Likes to run the ball. And actually Taquan's, smaller, quicker, maybe more of a playmaker on his feet. And so they're 2 different styles. I think some of it, a lot of it's going to be, who can move the ball, who can take care of it, and who can throw it better. The tough thing is, if you gave Taquan and Matthew equal amounts of playing time, equal amounts of practice time, Taquan's a year behind him, maybe he would win. It's hard, you can't know that, but I think just because Matthew's come in and established himself as the number 2 already, that gives him, considerable leg up, going into 2017.
Yeah, Tech has a pretty tough schedule this year. You touched on a little bit the game versus Miami, which is coming up this week. But which game remaining on the schedule out of the rest of the schedule, which one will be the toughest, based not only on the opponent, but the location and when they play them as well?
Boy, obviously Georgia is always a very difficult game, and that's in Athens. That makes it tougher. I guess everyone needs to see how good Georgia actually is. But Virginia Tech, that's up in Blacksburg. always tough there to win, and it looks like they're a lot better. They made a coaching change, hired Justin Fuente. And the problem with Virginia Tech the last few years is that their offense just wasn't very good, and it looks like they figured that out some. And the defense, I think, is strong as it, invariably, and also kind of like Brent Venables, like I was talking about, the Clemson defensive coordinator, Bud Foster, Virginia Tech defensive coordinator. He typically has a lot of good players, but also I think he's kind of figured out how to get his guys ready to play this Tech offense. So that'd probably be the one. Some other games I think Pitt's pretty good, as I mentioned. I think the rest of in North Carolina, that'll be tougher. But yeah, I would go with the Virginia Tech game.
So Georgia Southern visits Bobby Dodd Stadium in a few weeks, and the Eagles are, in my opinion, I think going to give Tech a pretty good run for their money. You may remember last year, definitely scared UGA. So do you have any thoughts on that game and what it means for any kind of recruiting battles in the state of Georgia?
Sure. I confess I don't know a ton about Georgia Southern this year. I know they have a new coach, but I don't know a lot about it. But regardless, they played Georgia Tech 2 years ago, and you could make the good case that they should have won that game. And as you said, they almost beat Georgia and could have won that game also. So as far as what it means for recruiting, I don't know. I don't know that Georgia Tech and Georgia Southern, or certainly Georgia and Georgia Southern, come into competition a lot as far as a kid picking between the two. Just because Georgia Tech and Georgia are both in power conferences and Georgia Southern is not. I think typically that's a choice that kind of gets made on it. I think most kids are going to pick Georgia Tech regardless. Not to say anything negative about Georgia Southern, as is the way it is. But I suppose it's what it would have to mean ultimately for it to mean something in recruiting. I guess maybe Georgia Tech has more to lose. Georgia Tech loses a game like this to Georgia Southern, and maybe loses decisively. I think maybe kids start to see wonder, well, how good is Georgia Tech really if they can't be Georgia Southern? Whether that's valid or not. I guess to some degree it probably means something. I don't know that it means a great deal as far as the two schools competing for recruits.
So the ACC, they've seen a recent turnover in coaches at Miami and Virginia Tech, both of whom are in the Coastal Division. North Carolina and Duke both have also risen in the last few years. Is this a sign that the ACC is now rivaling the other Power 5 conferences from strength from top to bottom?
So they're rivaling other conferences?
Yeah, in strength from top to bottom. Are they as strong as the other conferences?
Yeah, certainly, yeah. I think so. Virginia made a coaching change. They hired Malcolm Mendenhall from BYU, and Justin Fuente at Virginia Tech, and Ruckert at Miami. Those. I think when those are made, I thought at the time, this makes Georgia Tech's job, or just situation tougher, because they're all three really good coaches and good fits for. Well, I guess they'll have to see how good a fit they are, but I think I would think they'll make those schools better and stronger. I think Virginia in particular, I think has, under Mike London, they were able to recruit some pretty significant prospects, but obviously just weren't able to win very consistently at all. And it remains to be seen whether Bronco Mendenhall can do that or not. But if they can, you look at that side of the league. Duke, since they hired David Cutcliffe for the late season, he's made them, someone maybe not a powerhouse, but someone that they've gone, they've been at bowl games. I think maybe the last 3-4 years in a row, which they've never done before. North Carolina with Larry Fedora. They won the division last year, which they've never done before, and they've always also recruited pretty well. And if you can make them into a team that wins 8-9 games consistently, then like you said, they raise the competitiveness of the league. Virginia Tech with Fuente, he could get them back easily into kind of the status that they enjoyed with Frank Beamer, in the early 2000s, late 2000s. And then, who else? Miami, yeah, Mark Richt, goodness, yeah, I mean, that was a terrific hire. And, Miami's as a team that, just because of where they are, they've recruited really, really well, but Al Golden, just didn't measure up, but I wouldn't say, to what they could have been. And so, those CRs, there's no reason why those schools, well, particularly the Georgia Tech and Miami, can't be top 25 teams year in, year out. And so you add those two teams with, Clemson and Florida State and Louisville, and that gives you 5 really good teams. And Georgia Tech, comes in and out. And who else is there? Let's see, on the other side, Boston College isn't very good, but who else is there? Syracuse could be getting better. They have a new coach. Wake Forest. And once you say it, actually doing that, it could be better. But I think, I think it's easy to still look at it. The SEC as they're better than the ACC, but maybe if it's hard to say. I mean, maybe you want to get into like you play, 1 to 14, kind of like the the ACC Big Ten Challenge. See what happens. You think you'd like the ACC's chances to hold its own at least. I think they're always going to be. It's going to be tough to just to hold their own because the SEC has just advantages and resources and that sort of thing. But I think they're the conference is clearly getting better, and I think the first two things you look at are Florida State win national championship a couple of years ago, and then Clemson getting the finals and or the championship last year and almost winning it, and that's like that says something that I think like you're getting at, like the SEC is getting better as a conference.
So number 15, Miami is looking very impressive under their new coach, Mark Richt, that we were just discussing. So give us a preview of what to expect next week when the Hurricanes come to town.
I think with Georgia Tech and looking at it from Georgia Tech's side, kind of like to go back to what we were saying before, a lot of it's just, can Georgia Tech defense slow down Miami? Last year, Brad Kaya, and it was like in a rainstorm, I remember, down there. He threw for 30 yards, and I think it was 25 attempts. He was 16 for 25, so he was averaging 12 yards an attempt, which is just ridiculous. 7 yards is a good average, a good benchmark, and so he was almost double that. So they've got to be able to, pressure Kaya, stop the run game, and then on Tech's offensive side, again, Miami's always got strong play at linebacker and defensive line, and it's a matter of being able to block up, those the option plays and be able to run the ball against Clemson. The big problem was that they kept having plays for loss. So instead of 2nd and 8 or 2nd and 7, which is kind of where they live, they were 2nd and 10, 2nd and 12, 2nd and 14, and when Georgia Tech's in that situation, they just can't win. So I think it'll be a close game. I mean, even though Miami's generally had the upper hand, they typically take close games, but it'll come down to the kind of same thing that often does. Can Tech run the ball and can hold on the ball and keep Miami from getting a lot of big plays, and I think they got a good shot. But it'll be interesting just because obviously Mark Richt coming back, it's kind of an added layer of drama or intrigue, I guess. But ultimately, it's just is Kentucky do the things we interview to efforts, like as I said, is running the ball and keeping Miami keeping Brad Kaya contained.
So we're going to finish up with a couple questions about the new athletic director. So what are your first thoughts to Todd Stansbury as the new athletic director at Georgia Tech?
It's hard to know a ton. He was introduced to the media on Thursday. And obviously, the people he talked to, they're all going to say nice things about him. And then not to say that none of them are true, but I think it's a great hire. One, he's got experience being an AD before. He was at Central Florida and then at Oregon State for a year. So he knows how to do his job. He's been at schools, again, Oregon State and Central Florida that are, football first schools, which is, unfairly or not, was kind of a knock against Mike Levinsky that he was an AD at Xavier where they didn't even have a football team. And then, just listening to him talk, I think, he has a lot of things that Tech probably can use well. He seems to be someone who's big on kind of being innovative and creative in terms of, generating revenue and attracting, attention and fans to the team, getting fan base excited. And then on top of that, I think, what probably Tech fans, a lot of them are excited about is he is from Georgia Tech. He played football there. He actually worked there. He got a start there, and he worked under Homer Rice, who was an AD in the 80s and 90s. I think it might have been the 70s, but, who's, I think, a beloved figure and, did a lot of great things for Georgia Tech. He hired George O'Leary, he hired Bobby Cremins. And so, I think fans, Tech fans, probably Tech grads in particular, are always hoping that one of their own can come back to be whatever, the head football coach or the AD or basketball coach. And so to have someone in there who understands the school, who probably isn't going to be going anywhere, I think is something that is good for the school and for the department. So, time remains to, time will tell. But I think it's a great hire. I think he's going to do good things over time. He's got, challenges as far as getting the fan base excited about basketball again and just raising money for different projects. But I think he's a guy who's, college fans are excited about him. And I think everything he also understands is a big part of his job is just being the guy who's out front and helping sell Tech's vision and story. I think it'll work well.
Stansbury didn't make any major head coaching changes at Oregon State, but some fans are ready for Tech to make a change at the head football coaching job, especially after their rivals in Athens have fired their coach at a high standard. So do you think it's time, or does Paul Johnson deserve another chance or two to prove he can still lead this team to national prominence?
I would say he deserves a little more time. I mean, they're not so far removed from winning 11 games in 2014. And then, you look by and large at his record, they've been in the ACC championship game 3 times. They've won it twice. They won it once and played 4 2 other times. And so, one thing that he says often, and I think there's some validity to it, he's done really about as well as anybody or better, I guess Bobby Ross excluded, who won a national championship, over a long period of time, better than anybody has done there. It's like, as I said, it's a tough place to win, and he's done, just the right things. Players are graduating, they're not getting in trouble, and most of the time, they win. Obviously, it's last year excluded, and we'll see what happens this year. I feel like they've got a chance to have a pretty decent season. But yeah, so I think just the way the job works with Todd Stansbury, they'll be getting started right around the end of the football season, and I think even if, let's just say they don't lose another game, they go 3-9, which that would happen. I think it would be really hard for him to come in and the first thing he does is fire his football coach. And so one thing is, it's financially speaking, it's not feasible just because they would owe him so much money in the buyout that they really couldn't do that. So, whether Todd Stansbury thinks he should fire him or not, and my guess is he doesn't. He really couldn't do it easily for another year or two anyway. So, I totally let the year play out and see what happens, and you let probably 2017 play out too. But my personal opinion is, I think he needs to stick around a couple, and if he can keep doing what they've done over the last several years, I think Tech will be okay with having him there.
So how can Tech fans connect with you?
A couple ways. Certainly, if they want to read what I'm writing, it's at AJC.com, and then also I'm on Twitter, Ken Sugiura, AJC, and that's KSUGIURA, AJC, and then they're free to email me. It's, again, KSUGIURA at AJC.com. I appreciate you asking.
All right, well, we were glad to have you today. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, well, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on. You have a lot of really good questions. Some stuff I've thought about, so I appreciate it.
So that was some great stuff from Ken Sugiura, the AJC writer for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Remember, you can find him on Twitter at KSugiuraAJC. So just some other brief notes about the other college teams. Georgia, they played dismally. They lost to Ole Miss 14-45. They dropped to 25th in the AP poll. I'm surprised they actually didn't drop out, so we're not going to go too much into them. This is a long show already. One other note about them is that Nick Chubb also sprained his ankle, so that could be interesting to watch as they head in to play. Well, as Tennessee comes to Sanford Stadium to play the Dogs next week in that huge matchup in the SEC East. In Tech, they lost 26-7. You probably already heard that in our interview. Not much more to say about them. Georgia State was off, and Georgia Southern lost 31-49 to Western Michigan. So you might be thinking, oh, okay, 0-3 for the major teams. Georgia State was off. But Kennesaw State came along. They saved the day. They did get a win. They beat Duquesne 36-28. So it wasn't a complete washout for the state of Georgia in college football yesterday. The Braves, just one brief note about an opponent. I'm sure you've heard by now. Today's game was canceled due to the death of the Marlins pitcher Jose Fernandez. The Braves were scheduled to play the Marlins. Jose Fernandez died in a boating accident. He was a great guy. He's a great pitcher. He was always very good against the Braves, so it's sad to see him go. And then the Falcons, they play tomorrow in the much-anticipated Monday Night Football game versus the New Orleans Saints. So you can watch that game, or you can watch the presidential debate. That has been something that has been talked about a lot. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, or the Falcons and Saints. So that's up for you to decide, but it is on tomorrow. The Falcons, it'll probably be a good game. Matt Ryan's been doing okay. I think the offense will show up tomorrow. So thank you for listening to the Atlanta Sports Podcast. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at ATL Sportscast. You can find us on our website, atlantasportspodcast.com. You can also subscribe to our newsletter there. We have a brand new newsletter. You could subscribe to us there. It's on the right side of the screen, I think, when you get there. You can also find us on iTunes or Stitcher. However it may be easiest for you. We're in most of the major directories. So we hope that you would tell your friends as well. You know anybody that likes teams from the side of the state of Georgia, tell them to come here. We will keep them up to date with all the latest happenings. We'll see you next week with another show.